Alright guys, welcome back to another video. This is Dwight from the Outdoor Right, logger, sawmill owner. The last market video I gave did really well, so I figured I'd give y'all another one. So a little bit's changed since the last video we had. There's a little bit of life in the market. We had an election. I think it was good results. The market seemed to think it was too because it started moving. However, it's still very slow. It's just a little bit of activity. I've had a few more people stop by the shop buying some hardwood lumber. The market buyers, like wholesale buyers, they're still not budging. They're still not buying nothing. I can't sell nothing wholesale wise, which is why I put a kiln in. I'm selling retail now. So anyway, I got me some cards here, some cue cards, because this video is in depth. There's a lot of specific numbers and stuff like that. I wanted to make sure I gave them right and didn't present them in a crazy way. So let's get right to it. So the market in December. So right now we're still, as far as railroad ties go, we're still at a pretty significant deficit in the amount of ties that we have on hand. We as in like the entire United States supply chain of railroad ties, compared to how many ties the railroad projects that it's going to need. However, just because they need them doesn't mean they're going to buy them. It all depends on if they can make a profit while doing it. We got our logging dog with us today. I don't know if you can see her or not. So right now, it's getting close to Christmas time. My tie buyer, they're locked down. They're not buying any more ties till the first of the year, so they can get an accurate count of things. And also what's coming up in January. So these tie companies, these railroad companies, they buy their ties in a quarterly. So they're going to put in an order in January, and most of your tie companies are just kind of floating right now, waiting to see what that is. I don't see how it could not be good news for the tie market, because like I said, there's a huge deficit coming. Also, we had a very large tie supplier up in I believe it was in Cape Girardeau, caught on fire and burned down. That took out that entire supply line. That was their treatment plant. So that company is completely wiped out. Their treatment facility is wiped out. Fun thing about creosote is it's horribly toxic. We can't even make it in the United States. They have to make it overseas and ship it to the United States. So that tie company is out. They're going to be dealing with lawsuits. They had to evacuate most of that town. They're going to be dealing with environmental lawsuits. They're not going to be able to fulfill any tie orders. I'm sorry for all the people that were involved in that. It sucks. But that just adds another contributing factor to the deficit of the railroad ties that we've got right now. Another company, another big major company. Now I'm not saying these names because I've been told this by certain people that are on the inside. And I don't want to say the company name because honestly I'm not sure if it's like public. I don't know. I'll probably get in trouble for making this video. Another major tie producer got hit because they figured out, the railroad companies figured out that the ties that they were selling, the treatment didn't penetrate to the core of the tie. And so they're having to pull up bunches of ties. So that company is going to be facing a lot of difficulties, a lot of hot water over that escapade. Let's go knock them out of the running. So that only leaves a handful of companies that are able to sell ties to the railroad company now. Again, we're already in a deficit of railroad ties. Those numbers are from the RTA, the Railway Tie Association. It's not just me speculating. We are in a deficit of railroad ties needed versus what we've got. Like I said, it depends on if the railroad will be able to make a profit, if they'll buy those ties or not. So moving on from railroad ties on to hardwood lumber. Hardwood lumber still seems to be pretty deadlocked. I don't have any hard facts on the hardwood lumber industry just because it's such a secretive industry. and I'm not a subscriber to the Hardwood Market Report because, quite frankly, I think it's a scam. $2,000 a year for a monthly publication. They kiss my butt. Anyway, moving on from hardwood lumber into what everyone wants to know. This is softwood lumber, which is what drives the country. Construction grade lumber, 2x4s, 2x6s, stick built frames, stuff like that. And buddy, there's a lot to unpack, so y'all buckle up. Alright, so gotta get my cue cards here. So Canfor Corporation is the 4th largest lumber producer in the world. And they just announced major curtailments in the U.S. and shutdowns in Canada. They estimate that that's going to take, are you ready for it? 670 million board foot of annual production out of the market. The reason why they said they're shutting everything down, they said weak lumber market and too expensive to make it in Canada and send it to the U.S. Alright? The current price of lumber, the market price, like the stock market, what it's trading for, $579 a thousand. That's up 11% from a year ago, but it's still kind of lackluster for the producers. So basically, it's not profitable for them to make this lumber yet, so they're not. So fast markets, they estimate total nationwide, Canada-wide, 3.1 billion board foot lost due to mill curtailments, just strictly due from it's cost too much money to make the product and they ain't getting enough, so they're curtailing the market. 3.1 billion board foot. That's a lot. Alright. So you may ask, well, you're on here all the time talking gloom and doom about this lumber market and how you're starving to death and all the other sawmills are starving to death if they're not subsidized by big government or something like that. Well, so why is the price high when I go to the store? Why am I still paying what I think is an outrageous price for lumber? Well, this is my opinion, okay? A lot of these numbers I'm giving you, they're facts. That's straight from the source. This is my opinion that we've reached the new low, the new normal, as the coin was termed a couple of years ago, for lumber prices. You're never going to see 2x4s selling for what they sold for in 2016, pre-COVID. You're never going to get those days back, just like we're never going to get $1 a gallon gas back. Those days are gone, so stop complaining about it. I would like to have it back, but with the price of everything, you're never going to get that back, and plus the big buyers know you'll pay it. Alright? So, again, we've got a substantial deficit in new inventory of lumber. So we have a huge deficit of lumber we're producing. We're not producing, like I said, 3-point-something billion foot. That's a lot. So right now, all these box stores, they're running on the orders that they've made. So we've got a huge deficit, and all your brokers, they're sitting on a big surplus of lumber that they bought. So whenever this stuff starts moving, you're going to see what supply and demand, what happens, all right? So we know our demand is low right now, and our supply is low and getting lower by the day. But we all know it's wintertime, and when they drop interest rates, people are going to start building houses. Now, interest rates is not the whole deal, but everyone knows they drop interest rates, make it affordable to build a house. People are going to start building houses. When they start building these houses with a massive deficit of lumber available, once these brokers run out of what's already on their yard, they're going to have a hard time replacing it. They're going to have to pay for it. So you're going to see the prices shoot right back up. So I predict, this is my prediction, that during the peak this summer, when peak building season starts, you're going to see prices shoot through the roof. So I don't know, you might buy it now, I don't know. they're sitting on enough inventory to last them all winter up until the peak season for them to start building houses. So we're not going to see the lumber price jump up until then. So what can we do to offset this looming storm of being crazy high lumber prices? It's not going to be crazy high for me because I'm just the low level producer, and I'm not going to see these prices. My prices that I'm going to get from my board probably won't change. I'll just be able to sell as much as I get. I won't be on a quota. For instance, you go to Home Depot right now and look at a 8-foot 1x6 red oak 8-foot 1x6. It's going to be in the price range of somewhere around $35. Okay, there's 4 board foot in a red oak 1x6, and if I get $2 for that 1x6 that they're charging you 30 some odd dollars, I'll be doing good. You know, so I'm not your sawmill guys aren't the ones that are reaping the benefits of this. So basically, how can we help? All right. Well, first thing we need to do, what we can do, and you can encourage by contacting your representative or whatever, is we can increase the production of our domestic lumber by opening up more public-owned lands to timber harvest. And I know, save the spotted owl, get out of here. Open up those public lands for timber harvest, increase our domestic production, lumber is going to go down. Another thing, and this is my biggest pet peeve, and you can't be really mad at them because, like, you know, they're making money, but exporting stuff to China. So it doesn't make any sense to me that as loggers and sawmillers and producers, there's a huge market in taking logs, white oak, red oak, stuffing them in a shipping container, shipping them to China. China cuts them, and then we buy it. That makes no sense to me. Another thing is we ship a whole ton of lumber over to China. If we would curtail that export to China, or, you know, hopefully, I don't know, we'd keep our lumber for ourselves, we'd probably do a little bit better. Anyway, so as far as the logging market goes, in my neck of the woods, north central Arkansas, it's pretty slim pickings. Of course, it's dead winter. No one's doing nothing. As a sawmiller, the only thing y'all can do is try to keep your loggers happy. And I know this is hard times for everybody. Sky's happy though. She's wagging her tail. You can probably hear that. This is hard times for all your sawmillers and loggers, but I'm telling you, if you can just keep the bank from coming and getting everything long enough for this deficit of lumber to play out, our market's going to come back. One thing about lumber and most commodities is that, number one, people are always going to need them. People are always going to need lumber. And number two, there's ups and downs. Y'all are old enough to remember. I'm not. I was a kid then, but my dad tells me all about it. In 2008, do the same thing. Everyone was on quotas, couldn't hardly get anything. So other than that, we can just hope that our time market comes through, and eventually these lumber prices will pick up. Until then, I'll see you next time. I'm out.